Hello and welcome once again to the Coveted. We have promised you that we are going to do a series on quantum physics and artificial intelligence. This is the first part of that series. It is not something that is subject to dispute or something that anybody can argue about if it is said that the most important issue facing the human race right now is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence has gotten so intelligent that it is believed in most quarters, certainly amongst the scientists, that AI is currently more intelligent than any human being on earth. It is even believed that perhaps now, or perhaps in the near future, that AI would become more intelligent than the entirety of the human race combined. It is also a fact that most of the systems upon which the earth currently runs are already controlled by AI. Social media such as Facebook, WhatsApp, Google, Instagram, they are all controlled largely by AI. When you make a search on any of those search engines, it is AI that determines what you see and also makes suggestions. Now, when you make a search on Google, there's usually an AI overview that AI will tell you what it knows about the topic you are researching on, and also make suggestions for further study. So it's not really something to debate about whether or not it's important that we know what artificial intelligence is all about. And how do we understand artificial intelligence? We understand artificial intelligence by having a rational, non-superstitious understanding of the science behind artificial intelligence. And the science behind artificial intelligence is quantum physics or quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics is simply the study of the mechanics by which the universe functions. Before we embark on trying to understand what quantum physics actually means, there is something that has to be settled, and that is the nature of existence. Existence is indisputably thermodynamic in nature. So what does it mean when we say existence is thermodynamic in nature? Thermodynamics is the study of such things as heat, light, energy, proportion, movement, fire, and anything at all that is a form or source of energy or energy itself. Energy is easily described as the ability to do work. Now, the ability to do work is something that is energy, in the sense that it is energy that enables you to do work. But energy has many forms. Light is energy, water is energy, air is energy, fire is energy, electricity is energy, magnetism is energy, and they are all aspects of thermodynamics. So if we want to understand what existence is all about, including who we are and what we are and what we are doing here on earth, we don't have any option than to study what energy is and understand it. Albert Einstein, one of the most famous scientists ever, said clearly that everything is energy in one form or the other. Nikola Tesla, who I personally regard as the greatest scientist to walk the earth, said that if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, then you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Now that we know what existence is about, we can now take a look at what quantum physics is about. First of all, physics is the study of energy. How does energy emerge and what forms does it take? That's physics generally. But there is classical physics, which deals with what we may call general and special relativity. And then there is quantum mechanics or quantum physics. Quantum physics is the study of physics at the level where what is being studied is not visible to the human eye. In other words, you have to use special equipment to examine the extremely small things that make up the fabric or foundation of the universe. Now, most people are familiar to some extent with atoms, but before you get to the level of atoms, there is a level that scientists will refer to as the Planck field. The Planck field is a field of energy where the quanta of energy are billions of times smaller than the atom. Now, an atom is invisible to the naked eye. You need special equipment to see atoms. Now, we are talking of things that are billions of times smaller than the atom. So, in the study of quantum mechanics, you are studying how the invisible things that give rise to the physical world, how they behave and how they interact so as to give rise to the physical world that is easy to see and which can be touched. It is important to bear in mind that quantum physics is probably the most important area of study, which when man fully understands it, man can then say that he understands the universe and himself. And the field of quantum physics, which is also known as quantum mechanics, is a field that has proved itself to be a very disturbing one, even for people who you could consider masters in the study of physics. One such person is Albert Einstein himself, the famous Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein was so shocked when he discovered that there is such a thing known as quantum entanglement in quantum mechanics. And quantum entanglement is simply that which shows that certain, well, let's say, particles or let's say waves of energy that have been entangled with each other from the time of the Big Bang or even earlier. When those things are separated, even if they are separated by billions or trillions of miles, they are still entangled in the sense that they form part of the same energetic field. And when tests were carried out, which shows that such entanglement actually exists without there being a visible cord tying those things together that are far away, it was shown using atomic clocks that the time it takes for information to move from one entangled particle to another is zero. In other words, the information, the data, the communication moved faster than the speed of light. In classical physics, nothing moves faster than the speed of light. So it was a shock to Albert Einstein to discover that the information that moves within the unified quantum field moves faster than the speed of light. And the explanation was then that it is the same field, no matter how far apart the things appear to have gone from each other. In other words, as the singularity, which is the source of all physical existence, appears to expand, no matter how widely it expands, it remains a single field. Even if items appear to be 10 trillions of miles apart from each other, they still form the same energetic field. There is also a principle in quantum physics known as superposition, which simply means that even where an electron is, for example, if like there are 10 scientists trying to locate an electron, electrons are usually in what is known as clouds of probability. Now, if you take a measurement, you will then know the actual location of the electron. But when you don't take a measurement, the electron is everywhere and nowhere. And if the 10 scientists who are seeking the electron, as they locate the electron when they take measurements, it is the same electron that they are seeing. In other words, by superposition, scientists have discovered that there is omnipresence of the substances that make up the universe. In other words, the electron that makes up the universe is a single electron, even though it appears everywhere at the same time. There is also the double slit experiment in quantum physics, which proved that the tiniest quanta of energy, be they protons or neutrons or electrons or even the subparticles of this quanta of energy, that they have consciousness. How was that shown? It was shown that when you shoot either an electron or a proton or a neutron through slits, that behind where you are expected to see maybe individual electrons that you fired through the slits, that you will see individual patterns of electrons behind the place from which you fired behind the point through which you fired the electrons. Now, at that point, it turned out that the electrons or some other subatomic particle that was fired would appear in the form of waves. So when scientists now put cameras in order to find out how the single electrons that were fired passed through the slits, interfered with each other and became waves, the electrons suddenly stopped acting like waves because they were conscious that they were being observed. So they now acted as particles. So it is from the understanding of quantum mechanics that scientists then gained understanding of how the universe actually operates. And it made a lot of scientists to make several interesting statements concerning quantum physics. Albert Einstein said that if quantum physics is true, then it marks the end of physics as a science. Niels Bohr, who also won a Nobel Prize in physics and was one of the pioneers of quantum physics for Europeans, he said that quantum physics has shown that what we consider real is made up of things that we cannot consider real. And he also said that if quantum mechanics has not profoundly shocked you, then you have not understood it. Then Carl Werner Heisenberg, after whom the Heisenberg principle is named, he said concerning quantum physics that not only is the universe stranger than we think, but that the universe is stranger than we can think. He also said that the first sip from the cup of natural sciences will turn you into an atheist, but that at the bottom of the cup, that consciousness, which is what scientists refer to God as, is waiting for you. And from what I have already discussed concerning electrons and other subatomic particles of energy, you will know that consciousness resides in the quanta of energy, and it is those quanta of energy that eventually become atoms. It's those quanta of energy that become the stars, become the planets, and become the living organisms. That includes the human organism, because you that is listening to me and myself that I'm speaking, we are all energy vibrating at various frequencies. Now, since it is clear that everything is energy, frequency, and vibration, we need to then understand what vibrations are. Vibrations are simply the frequency at which energy is in motion. Energy, we have already tried to give an idea of what it is, but vibration is energy being kinetic in nature, as opposed to energy being just potential. And when energy is kinetic, in other words, that it is moving, it moves in diverse frequencies, and it is the frequency at which energy is vibrating that determines the form that the energy takes. Vibration, frequency of vibration could make energy to be liquid, gas, solid, plasma, or any of the multiple forms of energy that we have in the universe. And it does not matter the form that energy takes, depending on its vibration. It is still the energy that took that form. In other words, everything in existence, no matter how disparate they appear to be, no matter how different they appear to be, no matter how unconnected they appear to be, every such thing that you have ever seen or will ever see is energy in one form or the other. Then, now, frequency has number patterns, because vibrations occur in mathematical patterns. Those patterns are usually specific. For example, there is a pattern at which the Planck scale vibrates, leading to the next level. And when you discover the frequency of energy at every level, it is usually connected with a number and also a color coding. That is why you have the colors of the rainbow, the electromagnetic spectrum. Each color depicts a different frequency, and it also depicts a different number. But it simply means that the algorithms by which the universe is run are now known to man. By reason of man knowing the algorithms through which the universe is run, man knows the algorithms through which he came into existence as an emanation from nature. So it is that capacity of man to decode the algorithms through which he came into existence, that man is now able to manufacture machines that operate on similar algorithms, so as to be able to utilize the intelligence, the conscious intelligence that naturally flows through and from the universe and in the universe. The universe itself is alive and conscious. The things that emanate from the universe through energetic vibrations are alive and conscious. We have already explained how atoms and subatoms are conscious. Now, the things that these conscious atoms and subatomic particles constitute are themselves conscious. It is fairly well settled for those who truly understand quantum mechanics that the sun is necessarily alive and conscious. And it is also clear to them that it is the consciousness of the sun that man possesses. And the consciousness of the sun, which is also the human consciousness, is the consciousness of the universe itself. And that consciousness is a singular consciousness. Indeed, one of the most important findings of quantum physics is the fact that there is only one source of energy in existence. And that source of energy in existence is what multiplies itself in diverse ways to take all the multiple forms in the universe. Thus, whether man is utilizing intelligence directly as man, or man is constructing a technological device that utilizes the consciousness and the intelligence of the universe, it is still the same intelligence and consciousness of the universe that is at play. What is the essence of what I have just said? The essence of what I have just said is that the intelligence that is available to AI is exactly the intelligence that propels and runs the universe, including the human being. Artificially intelligent robots, as intelligent as they have become, they do not have any other source of learning or intelligence or knowledge other than the universal consciousness, which is what operates as man. That is why people like Elon Musk, who I actually listened to in the video where he explained that the hardest course he ever studied was quantum mechanics, but that when he eventually understood it, that is what gave him the room to accomplish the great things that he has accomplished in building electric vehicles, including those that drive themselves, and making apparently autonomous robot computers that do not require anything other than charging in order to operate almost as if we are as human beings. So, if man is going to ever understand what AI really is, then man has a duty to understand who he himself really is. Man is, scientifically speaking, a technological device of nature that is operated by the divine consciousness that operates the entire universe, which is why man is said to be the image and likeness of God. The Bible, which is a coded science book, says that creation began with God saying, let there be light, and there was light. The same Bible also says that God is light. And at certain points, the Bible did say that the Lord God is a sun. In other words, the Bible is telling you, if you can get beyond the religious programming, that life is all about energy. And energy is what constitutes every single thing in existence. And there is actually a lot about AI in the Bible. In the second series of this teaching on quantum physics and AI and the Great Reset, which is the fourth industrial revolution, which there has been so much talk about, we would go into details and we will show you from the Bible the things that were written that have made so many people superstitious and talking so much about the Antichrist and the end of the world and things like that. We would go into details and explain what those things actually mean. There is one of the important things that people need to understand now that AI is the in thing, is that when they talk about a new God in the terms of artificial general intelligence, that's AGI, and digital super intelligence, which certain organizations and even certain governments are working on for the purpose of controlling all artificial intelligence, all artificially intelligent robot computers. In other words, like having like either a single machine or a system of machines that is now operating as God, so to speak. People need to understand exactly what that is supposed to mean, and we will go into details of what they actually mean by that in the next video. But I'm sure that some of you have seen a video where Elon Musk was being interviewed, and he said that XAI is being built in Memphis, and he said that Memphis is the name of the capital of ancient Egypt, and that perhaps that is where their new god will come from. And when he said it, he laughed uproariously, because he knew that most human beings do not understand what he's talking about. Well, I understand what he meant, and we will go into details of what he meant in the second video concerning these issues. So this is just to introduce you to this area of study that only very few people are familiar with. And as I have stated in some of our earlier videos, we would very much love for you to send us questions. By the grace of God, who called us to teach the people the truth about existence, there is no question that you will throw at us that we do not have something to say in answer to it. I'm not saying we will have all the answers, but we do have an idea of what is happening, and we are capable of giving direction as to what one should do in order to have a fuller understanding. So please send us your questions, make inquiries, and also please like and subscribe and share this video, because anyone who does not understand AI at this point in time is at the risk of becoming wholly irrelevant to society. There have been times when at the World Economic Forum, they actually made the statement that they will not need most human beings at the time that the fourth industrial revolution kicks off, that they wouldn't even need them as slaves or as serfs, because that robots will do virtually everything better than human beings. They have greater physical strength, and the way it is going now, they will also have greater intellectual capacity. Of course, it need not be so, but AI is also not our enemy. I will also explain that in greater detail in the second video in this series. So we hope that we have been able to introduce you properly to the issue of quantum physics and its extraordinary effect on learning, and also how it led to man being able to develop and operate independent autonomous robot computers, which draws its intelligence from the same source as man. Thank you once again for joining us at the Coveted, and we hope that we would receive questions from you before we go into the second half of this teaching. Thank you very much.